Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. And another heavyweight news mashup video today, starting with Tyson Fury and Glovegate. His co-promoter Frank Warren speaking out saying, "Have you ever heard such nonsense in your life?" So the claims are that Fury didn't wear a glove properly, and this is not actually from the rematch but the first fight, and there are fans among the YouTube boxing community calling for the result of the fight to be overturned. This is the rematch, and for Wilder's record to be changed to 44-0 as opposed to 42-1-1. So Warren continues, first of all, boxers wrap their hands on an agreed amount of bandage and tape between the two camps. When they wrap their hands, the people who are there are obviously Tyson's camp, his trainer, and the guy who was wrapping his hands. You've got someone from the local commission. In the background, you've got the drug testing guys who are always with you all the time. Plus, there's someone from the other camp watching and inspecting to make sure they are happy with the way the hands are wrapped. That's why someone from Tyson's camp was in Wilder's dressing room. Then they warm up. When it comes to putting the gloves on, they put the gloves on. The commissioner signs the gloves on the tape, and in the case of the last fight, there was someone from the camp there. So once those hands are in that glove, how on earth can you move your hand? It's impossible. It's stupid. I don't know what planet they are on to come up with stuff like that. I've seen the footage and it's all open glove. It's just pathetic. The best man won on the night, end of story. No excuses, nothing about costumes or whatever else. On the night, the best man won. That is Frank Warren talking to BT. Meanwhile, Eddie Hearn, the promoter for Anthony Joshua, is hoping that he can get Anthony Joshua in the ring by August to fight twice in 2020. So he had been scheduled to face Kubrat Pulev in June the 20th. That has been delayed. They are looking at other dates currently, potentially July the 25th, but not locked in at this point. So Hearn has told the Evening Standard, the next 2 weeks will tell us everything we need to know. We hope July 25 is the rescheduled date, but the bigger question is that Joshua has to fight by the middle of August to box twice this year. So if it goes beyond that, the conversation may go straight to the fight with Tyson Fury in October or November. There's a contract to fight Pulev, and Fury has to fight Deontay Wilder, but anything is possible in this crazy world. It might get to the stage where if AJ has not boxed Pulev for months, he starts thinking he's getting older, he doesn't want the big fights to slide, and this may be his only chance to become undisputed heavyweight champion. For AJ, it's all about legacy. And I'll just jump in there before getting on to Pulev and his team who are talking about contingency plans, which shows they still want the fight, they're not stepping aside. But Eddie Hearn is pushing this narrative that the undisputed fight could happen next. But for the reasons that Joshua and Fury are contracted to fight Pulev and Wilder respectively, it really just is pie-in-the-sky stuff. And it makes me wonder, why is Eddie Hearn pushing this narrative, which has already been shot down multiple times? Kubrat Pulev is not going to stand aside. Neither is Deontay Wilder, who's accepted the third fight with Tyson Fury, as was his right in the contract. So all this talk about moving on to the next fight and moving on to a Fury undisputed fight, let me tell you this, if Anthony Joshua and his team decide just to go fight Tyson Fury, he will be stripped of at least one belt, the IBF, and possibly more, because he is meant to be facing Kubrat Pulev next. And also the WBO might strip him because Joshua was meant to face Pulev and then their mandatory challenger, which currently is Alexander Usyk. So there is a 2-fight backlog for Anthony Joshua. So all this talk is just smoke and mirrors by Eddie Hearn, who clearly is wanting to get headlines in this lockdown to keep Anthony Joshua and the Tyson Fury fight that out there and sort of building towards that eventually whenever it could happen, which probably is 2021 at the earliest, maybe mid-2021. Let's be realistic here. So I'm not buying what Eddie Hearn is trying to sell me, and if you are, don't know what to tell you. Meanwhile, Kubrat Pulev's representative, Ivalo Gotsev of Epic Sports and Entertainment, which co-promotes Pulev along with Top Rank, he says, I know Eddie has questioned Dana White's plans to promote UFC events now during the pandemic, but throughout the last 100 years, boxing has been a refuge for some of the biggest challenges our world has ever seen. Throughout the Great Depression, 2 world wars, even the tragedy of September 11th, boxing has been the first to capture the hearts, minds, and the imagination of the public when they need it most. Therefore, Joshua vs. Pulev must go on. Safety is our number one priority, but it's now time to separate the boys from the men. The show must go on. We cannot let fear stand in the way of our very existence. A 15-minute rapid test is now readily available, and soon antibody testing and certification will exist. While it's clearly not practical to test 70,000 fans coming into a stadium, testing 100 or so persons required for the first-class television production of a World Heavyweight Championship fight with no live audience is now well within the realm of possibility. And John Wirt, also of Epic Sports and Entertainment, says the truth is that soccer is still being played in stadiums in Europe. The WWE had a pay-per-view event last weekend in the United States. The German Soccer League announced today that their plans to start playing soccer soon, and Major League Baseball has discussed plans to hold a modified season in Arizona. People need entertainment, and sports specifically, while being cooped up inside for this long. You can catch a fever from COVID-19, but you can also get a bad case of cabin fever if you don't take care of your mental health. Just like Netflix, sports is an essential service because we help people from worrying themselves sick over this virus. And Pulev, he also says, as I've said repeatedly, I'm ready to battle anytime, any place. So come on AJ, let's make this historic fight happen for the world and give our fans a battle they will never forget. And those comments there by Kubrat, Pulev, and the previous ones by John Wirt and Ivalo Gotsev of Epic Sports and Entertainment. It's not exactly a signal that they're going to stand aside and let Joshua go off and fight someone else, is it? Trainer Teddy Atlas says that Andy Ruiz Jr. would have lost the rematch to Anthony Joshua in 2019 even if he had have been at a lower weight. Ruiz Jr. weighed 283 pounds for the rematch in December 2019, losing a lopsided decision. He couldn't close the distance on a Joshua who was boxing and moving and showed a back foot game for the first time in his professional career. And when I say that, a back foot game that could, stand up at world level. So Atlas said, everyone says it's because of the weight. I'm going to say, even if he came in lighter after what I saw, I would say that he still would have lost the fight. And this is Atlas talking to the Express. He still would have lost to Joshua even if he'd come into the fight lighter. It had nothing to do with the weight. It's what he didn't know technically how to deal with a guy boxing from the outside. I can't help you if you don't know what you're doing. If you don't confess to it and you don't acknowledge it and you're not willing to change, I can't help you. I'm not going to go there just to get a payday. I'm going there to win and make a difference. It's a serious business. I would want to know if he's on board and where he is mentally. It would have gone a couple of days in New York to go on through these things, and they were going to call me. The call never came. And Teddy Atlas had been in the conversation to be Andy Ruiz Jr.'s next trainer after Ruiz Jr. parted ways with Manny Robles. Obviously, Teddy Atlas is not going to perform that function. The Canadian heavyweight Simon Kean is calling out Tony Yoka, citing a win that he had over the former Rio champion at the 2012 London Games, where Kean beat Yoka. Ultimately, Kean knocked out of the tournament, did not medal. But Tony Yoka, the 7-0 pro, I would pick, if these two were to meet, that Yoka would probably win comfortably. Kean, who was knocked out by Dylan Carmen a couple of years ago, ultimately went on to avenge that loss. Hasn't looked the same and has looked a bit gun-shy. I think Tony Yoka would have it all over Simon Kean at this point. Injured Swedish heavyweight Otto Wallin says he's making the best that he can with restrictions that are currently in play in New York, where he lives, due to the current pandemic. So he says, when COVID-19 and all the restrictions hit New York, I didn't have any equipment at home, but now I've managed to make a good home gym that works very well for me, so I can keep working out 2 times a day to be in great shape when this passes. This is a very tough and challenging time for us all, so we must step up and help each other. Most important is to follow the guidelines from the government and stay at home. And his promoter, Dimitri Salita, says the positive side effect of this pandemic is that when it connects the fighters and boxing fans on an intimate level. And rounding out this heavyweight news mashup video, Tyson Fury has a message for boxing fans.
The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced in a long time. And our best defence against it is getting people to stay indoors. It's not just a danger to older and vulnerable people, it can take anyone out, regardless of how invincible we feel. So I'm asking you, if you want to help me fight the coronavirus, please stay at home. It's the only way we can stop the virus spreading. protect our NHS and save thousands of lives across the country. Please listen to this advice and stay home, save lives, protect the NHS. All the best, God bless, see you all soon.